Since the passage of the emergency funding bill that provided aid for the border, there have been developments on border protection, ICE, and the need for more aid. Anger among House Democrats have heightened over revelations of a private Facebook group of Customs and Border Patrol officers and a report by the Department of Homeland Security on border conditions. Reports have emerged of CBP officers posting derogatory comments about migrants and Democratic lawmakers. Additionally, several Democratic lawmakers who visited detention facilities after a DHS report described dangerous overcrowding creating an immediate health and safety risk to detained migrants. In response, House Democrats called for an investigation into CBP practices and leadership. House Democrats want to explicitly address the humanitarian crisis at the border with further legislation. Progressive representatives are upset that the $4.6 billion passed in late June did not include standards for migrants in custody. The emergency legislation did not include protections such as mandatory medical care, stay limits, and increased training for ICE officers. The chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus wants to begin negotiating border funding for the next fiscal year. Representative Joaquin Castro called for Congress to address the standards of care for migrants in a bill authorizing next year's Department of Homeland Security spending. Leaders want to pass the 2020 DHS funding bill early to avoid last-minute concessions against a deadline. Additional legislation is in consideration to add funding conditions left out of the original emergency funding bill. Conditions removed from the emergency bill included health and safety standards for migrants in Customs and Border Patrol custody, protocols for dealing with migrant surges, limits on children's stays in shelters, and restrictions on contractors who do not provide adequate levels of care. Speaker Pelosi expressed support for legislation by progressives to ease tensions caused by the emergency funding bill. These bills include training for ICE officials, outlining standards of care for detained migrants, and coordinating the various agencies involved in processing and caring for migrants. Be sure to like this video and follow our Facebook page for more content.